All right, y'all, welcome to the Neat Disciples, where biblical truth meets brotherhood. We're men who follow Christ. We work hard and we take seriously the call to enjoy the blessings God gives us. As it says in Ecclesiastes 8:15, we find joy in our labor and in what's placed before us. So we talk scripture, we sharpen one another, and we enjoy good conversation over a good pour. Glad you are with us.
Hey y'all, thanks for joining us. Got an interesting topic today. It's a continuation of the leadership topic we had last episode. We're going to talk about servant leadership and how Jesus reflected that and how we can use that as leaders in today's world, whether it be in our family, our work, or church, or wherever, community. So I just want to start off with, when we think about leadership, we think about the world's view of it. That a leader is powerful and not always do we equate that with service. And we do a lot of times. I mean, I've had a lot of really good leaders over the past years, whether it be at work or church leaders or sports or whatever, and they really stand out. And I think one of the best examples of servant leadership is Jesus. Like he led and he served his disciples.
I wouldn't even say one of. He's probably the best.
The best, yes.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. But if we look at Mark 42 and 45, it says, Jesus called them to himself and said to them, "You know that those who are considered rulers over the Gentiles lord over them, and their great ones exercise authority over them, yet it shall not be so among you, but whoever desires to become great among you shall be your servant, and whoever of you desires to be first shall be slave of all. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life a ransom for many." All right, we're done. That's it.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
It's just a really good example. I mean, we got, the Son of God, coming down, leading these disciples and preaching to all these folks, and basically saying, "Hey, I'm not here for you to serve me. I want to serve you. I want to bring you that salvation," and that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, he's comparing himself. Well, he's comparing the kingdom in which he established, and at this point, is establishing. At least when he was actually doing it in real time. Comparing and contrasting, if you would. Kind of what you said at the very beginning, that you hear leadership and many folks might automatically go to power, authority, control, position, and Jesus basically is saying that's kind of the default, the human default, that the world would, when they hear leadership or are in positions of authority, that they want to hold on to it, attain it, hold on to it. Maybe even abuse it, which I think that was kind of what he was dealing with. I think just that these Jewish leaders were abusing their power as leaders and were oppressing, the people that they were tasked with shepherding and caring for. And so Jesus is really kind of calling them out, but at the same way saying, this is, those of you in my kingdom, that's not how it's going to be. That's not what I'm coming to establish. Leadership doesn't look like that. In fact, there's much about the kingdom of God that Jesus established that is kind of upside down compared to, the rest of the world. Leadership being one of them. And he goes on to say, look, even I am. He didn't say this, but I guess the implication is, as we look back and kind of can look back at history, Jesus is implying. I guess we're inferring. He's not even implying it. We're inferring it. That I have all the power. Mm-hmm. I have all the authority. I am the Son of God. And yet, even in those truths, I have not come to be served, but to serve and to give my life as a ransom for many. You know, I'm going to show you the way, what it looks like to be a servant leader in this kingdom that I am establishing for you. Yeah.
No. Yeah, and he says it again later on in Matthew 23. Whoever's greatest among you shall be your servant. Whoever exalts himself will be humbled, and he who humbles himself will be exalted. And he did, you know, not in so many words, say that, hey, I am, you know, he referred to himself as the Son of Man.
Yeah, absolutely.
All the time,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, sure.
So he did not shy away from that. You know, once he became known.
Right.
And yeah, I think it's important. And you know, I've had, like I've already said it a minute ago, but I had some really great leaders through my career and life. I had some really terrible ones as well, right? And the terrible ones, and I can remember this. I still have nightmares, have flashbacks,
Wow.
PTSD. No, not that bad, but it's basically like, hey, I'm your boss. You're going to do what I say you're going to do, and that's it. There's no discussion. There's no ifs, ands, buts, and sometimes that's necessary, right? Especially like if we're, you know, military, law enforcement. You know, you got people's lives on the line.
Right.
You know, the leader makes a decision, but but even in those situations, like if it's a strategy session or whatever, and then, you know, let me back that up a little bit. In those small moments, it's important for those leaders to be that way. But every other time, like if it's life or death, we got to lead with that authority. If it's not life or death, and we're trying to figure out the next, you know, campaign to, you know, to advertise or whatever your business is, it's good for a leader to get that feedback and lead humbly and as a servant more, instead of, hey, I need you to do this for me, but what can I do for you to make, you know, your job easier?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of inched your way, I think, towards something that I wanted to be able to say, or at least get to remind. I mean, I know you know this, and probably many of you know this too. But you know, leadership isn't so much about you know, you, the leader. It's how can you, when you're put in a position of leadership, it's these things do need to get done. So, you know, the reality might be at the end of the day, it is their way or the highway, but they may not need to say it that way. You know, there might be better ways to come up with that, and it might be through collaboration. It might be through how can I help? You know, help me help you, kind of a thing. How what can I do for you to enable you, to help you, empower you to do what does need to be done? So this is a win for all of us, not just for me, the leader. And nor am I exploiting you and oppressing you and kind of stepping on you to get this done. We're doing it together. Yeah, the buck may stop with the leader, but a good leader, I guess, you know, lifts up those people that he or she is to be managing, to be watching over, to be looking over and leading. You know, they pull them up and say, now let's do this together and let's succeed. And then when success is attained, you know, you applaud them, you give them all the credit. If success is not attained, you know, you look at yourself and you say, all right, how could I have led better to make this thing successful? So again, it's just, you know, Jesus kind of flipping things on his head, that leadership is all about really handing off the authority that you've been given or that you've earned for the betterment of others, and to elevate them and raise them up and encourage them.
Yeah, and I mean, he modeled it too. I mean,
definitely
think about when he washed the disciples' feet. That's pretty humbling experience. Have you ever done that?
I have. Yeah, and it's weird how humbling it is.
Yeah,
it's very, very humbling. I've washed feet. I've had my feet washed. Both of them are horrifically uncomfortable. Really, they both of them are, and I think that's on purpose.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's there for a reason. You know, Jesus did it for a reason. Like, this is the low of low.
Right.
You know,
and I'm the King of Kings,
and I'm going
to do this for you.
Yeah, which if we remember right, was it Peter that said, no, I need to be washing your feet. So it even made them uncomfortable, and rightfully so.
Yep.
You know,
it was unnatural. It is unnatural.
It was, and I think still remains unnatural, even though it is, you know, modeled in the Bible. But what a great, other than Jesus on the cross. I want to be careful how I say this, because I don't want to minimize anything. But you know, Jesus on the cross, I think, to me, is the ultimate act of service. You know, greater love is no one than this, than he who lays his life down for his friends. I mean, that is an act of service in a way. I'm serving you by giving my life so to spare yours, whether it's a physical or a spiritual sense or both. Other than that, at least scripturally, the foot washing episode in John 13 might be the greatest model of servant leadership, and that he did it even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's gross, even if it's humiliating. Servant leaders, you do it. If it's the right thing to do, you do it. And Jesus definitely modeled that for us.
Yeah, and we know it's important because it's echoed in other parts of the Bible. Of course, John 13 you mentioned, but also in Philippians 2:7, it says, "But made himself of no reputation, taking the form of a bondservant and coming in the likeness of men." And that's where it stops, but I'm going to add on. But he served his people, ultimately on the cross. But but he served, and I think a lot of people. I've been through a lot of, with my degree and different leadership positions at work. I've been through a lot of leadership training, and not once did they say, "Hey, here's a good example of servant leadership. Let's go to John 13."
Yeah, right.
And we never did go through that. But a lot of businesses get it right. They do teach servant leadership and everything. I just wish more would go back to, hey, what do we say here?
It may not directly reference, scripture, but it may definitely be modeled after it, that as a good, timeless principle to be followed. And so while I hear you, worldly companies, as good as they may be, aren't going to necessarily, hey, let's read the actual source text that we get this we get this principle from.
Where this originated.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. That's unfortunate.
Well, but and that's your opportunity when it's right to share some of that stuff in the context of work and your business and the career field in which you're in. Yeah.
Well, that's living Christ-like, right?
That's right.
Like, why is that person different? And let me tell you.
That's right. Which is an act of service in and of itself, I would say.
Sure. Yeah. And we can also translate that at home. I mean, not only do we lead at work and out in that way, but we have to lead our homes. There's in Ephesians, husband, love your wife as a Christ loved the church. In Proverbs, raising up your kids so they won't stray. There's a lot about leadership of the home, and of course, if you go to Hobby Lobby, you can always find Joshua 24:15. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. It's right next to the live, laugh, love signs. Right.
Love is patient, love is kind.
Yeah. But we are called to lead in our homes, and I think it's not like a lording over your family either. Like, the Bible says you're my wife and you've got to listen to me. But it's not just leading them financially and providing for them, but leading them spiritually as well. And we've had an episode about this several months ago of spiritual leadership, and that's a big part of leadership. So how do we serve our families as that leader as well in our houses, right? It's just the things we got to think about.
Yeah, and if we really think about it, you referenced the Ephesians 5, right before Paul gets into that, wives love, submit to your husbands love your wives, that section. The verse right before that is submit to one another in love. I mean, that's to all of us. That's the Christians, male, female, married or not married. It doesn't matter. That's a Christian ethic is to submit to one another in love. Now, then he dials it down specifically into the home. So this is what it looks like in the home. As you're submitting to one another, wives to their husbands, husbands, you love your wives like Christ loved the church. And again, what did he do for the church? He gave his life. He surrendered his life, laid it down for the good of the church. And so, leading at home is not just going to Hobby Lobby and putting those things on the wall. I don't think you were implying that, but it's certainly more. It's the doing. It's the putting these things into practice, and being the one to say it's Sunday, doesn't matter what we did last night. We're going to church, or Thursday, or whatever service you go to. This is something we commit to, and this is something we do for this, because this is for the betterment of us as a family. This is for the betterment of us as spouses. This is for the betterment of us and our home, spiritually, physically, so on and so forth. Similar thing at work. I'm going to put these words into practice at work. I'm going to put these words into practice on the Little League field, and in the band room, wherever our children may be. We're going to put these words into practice. And as Christians, when we're the ones doing that, we may not be declaring, "Hey, I'm serving you," or leading you in doing this, but we are. And we don't need to declare our service and leadership. We just do it. Yeah. And it's taking these things and actually modeling them and doing them.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, I think I've shared in a couple episodes, or a few episodes ago, that even like forgiveness and when in disciplining your kids, and or even as you're dealing with your spouse, asking for forgiveness when you've messed up. That's in a way leading to, by taking the step and saying, I need to do this. When I asked my child for forgiveness after I kind of went overboard, on something. I didn't say, hey, I'm doing this as a leader. I'm just doing it as a Christian, and you deserve forgiveness, and I need to be forgiven, so please forgive me. And I just think the practice of doing it, I was leading my son, who was, maybe 10 at the time. I didn't say this is a teachable moment. I'm leading you now. No, this was just, I'm modeling it.
Right. Yeah.
And it was horrifically uncomfortable. I'm not saying not my proudest moment, but it needed to be done. And I think my son, I think it landed later in life when he recognized, oh yeah, my parents did this when they needed to.
Yeah, they could see it. They didn't realize what was going on at the moment.
So leadership is really just modeling it too. We're talking about Jesus modeling it, and so we, not that we're Jesus, but I guess we represent him in a lot of ways. In the home especially. Then we model it when we do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how living Christ-like. And even if we look in Colossians 3, it says, whatever you do, do it heartily as to the Lord, and not to men, knowing from the Lord you will receive the reward of inheritance, for you serve the Lord Christ. And keeping that in mind, that whatever we do it for Christ. And when we have those moments with our kids or our family or even people at work, when we discipline a coach or even asking forgiveness, to be that in that leadership role, we're doing it to make them Christ-like. We want to live Christ-like, and we want them to learn those values and everything. So, it comes full circle. The more you think about it, the more it's like, wow, okay, this all makes sense.
Kind of weird.
It is, right? It's like somebody wrote a book.
Almost as if it's divinely inspired. Yeah.
But also to remember too that as leaders, we're held to a higher standard. I've never put leaders on a pedestal, because we're all fallible, us included. And I've made plenty of mistakes. If you don't believe me, ask my wife, even our kids. Right? Like they'll tell you real quick, they're not perfect. But in Luke 12, it says, but someone who does not know and then does something wrong will be punished only lightly. But when someone's been given much will be required in return. When someone's been entrusted with much, even more will be required. So as we take up that mantle of being that leader at work, that spiritual leader for discipling the people, like we, number one, should hold ourselves to a higher standard, right? But also knowing that God is holding us to a higher standard, based on Luke 12:48. So, so as you do that and you take those steps, always understand that you will answer to this, right? Like,
yeah, but let's not forget, and this is not permission to mess all that up, but let's not forget that God's grace is very real. And so, as we do try and work our way to that or attain that or model, what we're talking about, what Jesus models for us, when we do mess up, like, for instance, when I went a little bit overboard and it wasn't a physical overboard. It was just, probably yelled at him a little bit more than I should have, that wasn't a successful parenting moment as I did it. So, but God's grace is profound and allows for that moment of forgiveness between father and son, or husband and wife, or friend and friend, whatever the relationship may be. That while we are, what is the word, being sanctified, becoming more and more like Jesus, we're gonna make mistakes, and we're still human beings. We're still living in this world that's very frustrating and in many ways is counterintuitive to the way in which we now see the world through Christ. And so sometimes the flesh may win out, which is not good. But God's grace is sufficient, and so, it's weird. Failure is an option as long as we're really trying.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and improving.
That's right.
And,
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and we have grace with God, but it's not okay for me to rip up somebody at work.
Oh, of course
and,
not.
And
Yeah.
then be like, "Oh, God, forgive me," and then
That's
okay,
right.
well,
No, good.
got repentance here, but over here we still got somebody that's wrecked because you just basically lashed out at them and
Yeah, no, that's good clarification.
and tore 'em up.
You're right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so. And that's why I say, like, and people are, and not just like, Scripture says that we will be judged, because of this, but society, not that this should matter, but we're getting our coworkers, our subordinates, whoever their leader is, they're gonna hold them more accountable as well in those positions. So I think it's just important is elevate yourself to that. That you understand that, hey, there's a lot riding on this. And again, like to your point, we don't want to worry, like be afraid of making mistakes. We're going to make mistakes, but what do we do in those mistakes?
That's right. Yeah.
Because here's the thing, like, and I've said this countless times, not on the podcast, but throughout work and career and everything, is I've been asked, like, well, like what ultimately do you want your title to be? Really, I don't really care what you call me. I know what my job is. Well, would you like to be a leader? Well, like, let me just tell you right now, I don't need a title to lead. Nobody does.
Right, yeah.
Like, I don't need somebody to ordain me to witness to people in life. And I don't need somebody to say, okay, well, now you can make a decision and lead this group, because if somebody's not leading in that moment and a leader is needed, I'm going to step up. I'm not gonna be like, I'm the leader now, but I'm gonna, hey, why don't we do these things and take those steps, like you said, like, hey, by the way, guys, this is a leadership moment right here. It's just taking the bull by the horns and getting it done.
Yeah, that's a good point. In many ways, just having the title leader doesn't necessarily make you the leader.
Right.
Just because it says it on the door and you're being paid as the leader. If no one's following you, then you're not really the leader. Someone else is.
Yeah. One of my favorite, and my kids were watching the other day, one of the Avengers movies where two of the guys, I can't remember, I don't know the characters' names, but he's like, I'm the leader. Yeah, you're the leader. Like, I'm really the leader. Yeah, you're the leader. Or something like that. And I thought that was so funny because I've seen that play out in a lot of areas, not just at work, but in other aspects of my life. And it's
I guess if you have to tell people you're the leader, you probably aren't.
Correct. Yeah. One thing to remember too is, we don't want to get caught up in a pride trap. Being prideful, I think, is probably a big enemy of being a servant leader, because once we start getting that big head, we start forgetting what our role is and everything. And in Proverbs 16:18, it says, pride goes before destruction and haughtiness before a fall. I've been in situations where, getting accolades and awards and things like that. And I never let it get to me. I always, like, hey, well, this is, a lot of collaboration. If I didn't have the team I had or work with the people I work with, like this is just, or really, if it weren't for God, I wouldn't be here. So this is not me being this person. It's, I've done a little bit of good, but I try not to let those things get to me and elevate my thought of myself, because I don't want to get caught up in being too prideful.
Yeah, and I think if we can go full circle back to the first verse you brought up at the very beginning out of Mark 10, where Jesus says, not so with you. Hey, over here with the leaders, those in authority, lord it over their subjects, but not so with you. That what he's really calling out, without using the word, what he's really calling out those in authority, the Jewish leaders, is their pride. They're proud of their position. They're proud of their power. They're proud of their influence. They were in cahoots with Rome to kind of keep that for themselves, and they're going to do everything they could to hold on to that power, even if it meant the exploitation and oppression of their subjects. And I think that's what Jesus is calling out and basically saying, look, we're not going to be like that. We're going to be like this, and this. Being servant leadership will win out in the long run. It's going to look different. It's going to feel different. It's going to be uncomfortable in many ways because it's not the norm, but it will become the norm. And if you trust Jesus, it is the better path and the better way, and you'll be blessed through it.
Yeah, for sure. And then to kind of go back to something we talked about in the beginning, around that first verse about the leaders, the exalted ones or whatever. I think, I don't want to get down a partisan political conversation, but I think we do have a lot of politicians on both sides of the fence, all sides of the fence, that they get in these positions to help. And maybe they had good intentions, like, hey, I really want to do good, but they end up wanting people to serve them when they're in the positions to be serving the communities and the areas that they've been elected to lead. And the only reason I bring this up, I'm in local politics and everything, and I always take a step back to where, like, okay, it's not what you can do for me. It's what can I do for you? Like, what do we need to improve? How can I help you? As a citizen, as a community member, whatever. Because that's the mantle I took up. Like, how can I help? Right? How can I make things better? And I think a lot of our politicians lose sight of that very quickly. Because I've seen, been behind the curtain, everybody's pumping them up and, oh, you're so awesome, and kissing their boots and kissing the ring, jokingly. Maybe, I don't know. I'm pretty sure there's some people out there kissing rings.
Well, they're working their angle, they may want something, hey, they want proximity to this leader. And I don't disagree with you. I don't want to go down the political, kind of road either, but there is the appearance of our government. I'm specifically talking about our federal government, does seem to have forgotten, or we have forgotten, that we, the people, are the ones that the government is to serve. And somehow, somewhere, some way, it's a different episode maybe, that table's turned, where now the government appears to think that we exist to serve them, when in fact, the whole thing was founded for them to serve we, the people. And again, there's some, principles that we're talking about embedded in the government serves the people, not the people serve the government. And, in many ways we are where we are in our country today because we, the people, have lost sight of that. And I think it's been by design. Yeah. And again, that's a whole other episode, but
it's a whole other argument with people.
It really is a whole different podcast. We're gonna name ourselves something different.
Yeah.
But yes, I don't necessarily disagree with you that there is this disconnect from what it should have, what it was founded to be, and now what it has become. And it's still all about power, all about authority, holding on to that power, holding on to that authority, and then lording that over your subjects. And I do see that, to your point, from both sides of the aisle, or all sides of the fence, as you put it. Both are guilty. Yeah. And it's frustrating.
Oh, very much so. Very much so.
So with that, I'm going to shut up.
Right. Yeah. And we talked about division in another episode. It's called Us Versus Them. Go back and look at it because we talked about division in that. The last thing I kind of want to talk about before we wrap everything up is, if you are a leader or thinking about leading, this takes strength. This is not for somebody that's timid. And Scripture calls us to not be timid. In 2 Timothy 1:7, it says, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear and timidity." I always have a problem with that.
Timidity, yeah.
But of power, love, and self-discipline. So, we don't have to be passive. We need to be bold and we need to be strong. But
courageous.
We also be courageous, and be firm. And we need to lean on the scriptural principles that we talked about, that Jesus, that he not only told us about, but he modeled as well. And the last verse I want to share before we wrap everything up is 1 Corinthians 16:13-14. One of my favorite ones: "Be watchful, stand firm in the faith, act like men, and be strong. Let all you do be done in love." And if we do that, I think that we can be impactful leaders. I'm just going to say impact. I'm going to say great leaders. We can be good leaders.
Influential.
Yeah, right. I think if we just keep that in mind, what God's called us to be, and having, the best interests of the people that we serve in mind. And I say the people that we lead, because we have to serve those people to make them successful at whatever they do, in whatever capacity. Again, whether it's at work, at church, in a sport, your family, like, your goal as a leader to make them be the best they can be.
Yeah, to elevate them.
Any parting thoughts?
Yeah, the last, it popped into my head. So, forgive me for bringing up like a word that we probably could have brought up earlier, and I think as an episode, one of our first episodes, where you're talking about how this takes strength, but we don't lord it over. This what Jesus is calling us to is meekness. Where Jesus was meek himself, meaning he had all the power in the universe. He could have done with his word anything that he wanted to accomplish, and he didn't. He kind of limited his power in so much as that he didn't exercise that power over. He influenced them by serving them and dying for them, and dying for us. So I think I used the example episodes ago that meekness. Take a wild horse, and you break that horse and you domesticate it, and you can ride it. It still has all that power. Mm-hmm. It's just not using it all. It's been kind of redirected. And so Jesus says in the Sermon on the Mount, "Blessed are the meek." Mm-hmm. And so humility, meekness, patience, all of that is what we must practice as we lead. And that's the best path forward in the kingdom that Jesus not only modeled for us, but he also left it for us and created it for us. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So no, that's a good point. Go back and watch all the episodes till you find that one. Yeah. But on that note, has great discussion. Thanks for joining us today. We're going to move into a time of the show. We're going to talk about bourbon. And if that's not for you, we understand. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you on the next episode. Don't forget to like, follow, share, subscribe. We're on all the social media platforms, Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify, TikTok now, just everywhere we're at. We're at The Neat Disciples, or you can email us at theneatdisciples@gmail.com, and we'll see you on the next episode.
God bless everybody.
All right, y'all. We are going to do a tasting of a bottle that we had talked about this the first of the year, right? We did a recap. We talked about some bottles that we were looking for, and this was one of them that was on your list that you wanted, that you had saw it in Kentucky and didn't grab it.
That's
and
correct.
Been kicking yourself for it. And,
yes.
A couple weeks ago, I was on a work trip up in the Dallas area, and just so happened to stumble on 2 bottles of it.
Yeah.
One for Jeremy and one for me.
Yes.
So I've been really excited about opening it up. This is an Old Forester single barrel. It's 100 proof, but it is not bottle and bond. We both agree that 100 proof is a pretty good sweet spot for us. Mm-hmm. So being a single barrel, it ought to hopefully it tastes pretty good. They're all different. So
right, yeah.
We'll give it a shot. We'll run it on the neat scale.
Let's run it on the neat scale. Yeah.
Okay.
Just check it out.
Any other thoughts on that before we pour?
Any other thoughts on that?
Yeah.
No, let's pour it.
All right.
Well, it looks like bourbon.
It looks like bourbon.
Yeah, it does look like bourbon. It looks like good bourbon. I'd say it's about 100 proof.
By the looks of it, it looks 100 proof.
So I know Old Forester is kind of known for its like banana bread, mm-hmm. and and I do get that in a lot of the Old Forester bottles I have. I kind of do get that you get it?
Mm-hmm.
I get
yeah.
Kind of a sweet
baked.
Yeah.
Like a bread.
Mm-hmm. Like a banana bread, if you would.
Like a banana bread. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Well, it looks pretty good. I mean, it's the texture of it looks pretty thin, but we'll see. Oh, wow. That is pretty darn good.
It is good.
Got a little sweetness to it.
Yeah, it's got a sweetness to it, and as much as the banana bread's on the nose, it's on the tongue as well, right?
It is.
I mean, it is real prominent. It's fat. That's always fascinating to me.
Wow.
But it's got kind of that peppery, lingering, at least for me, a peppery, lingering.
Yeah, it's not hot.
No.
It just it hangs on for a minute. The flavor.
It does, but it's you said it looks thin, but it certainly doesn't taste or feel that way.
No, actually, at a second glance, it looks a little more viscous. Maybe all the spots on my glass are throwing
Maybe.
it off. Good gosh. I'm about to talk to my maid that comes in here and cleans this place. Which is me, by the way. I don't have a maid that comes in here, unfortunately.
So I get like a vanilla on the back end. It just, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Some of my favorite bourbons are the ones that just kind of have that kind of a sweetness that lingers there toward the end, and
Yeah.
I'm definitely getting that on this one. That's good.
It's pretty oaky on the nose too. Like when I first smelled it, it had a pretty good oak kick, and then I got the sweet banana bread smell.
Yeah, it was very good. It was worth the hunt, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Now I got to find another one since this one's open.
That's right.
Yeah. All right, so let's run it on the neat scale. So the neat scale, N is for nose, E is the experience, A accessibility, and T is texture. So on the nose, it smells awesome.
Yeah.
I'm at a 4 on it.
Yeah, I would say 4.5.
Yeah. It's not. It was got a little bit of the ethanol. Of course, it's fresh crack.
Right.
So, it hadn't had a chance to breathe yet, but we'll go 4.5. I'm good with 4.5 on that. The taste, like you said, it has that banana bread, that vanilla kind of on the finish. Very sweet, complex. It's not flat at all.
No, there's definitely complexity layers to it. Like it lingers at the end as well, so it's kind of goes sweet, peppery, back to sweet, and if that's even possible, so
yeah, that's good. I'm at a 4 on that too.
We'll go 4. I'm not gonna argue.
Okay. Accessibility. Now this is where we run into an
Yeah.
issue, because these they're single barrel, so they're store picks.
Right.
Like you have to have a store pick, and this is a big box pick. You can see it on the thing. It's a specs pick, and that's where I found it. I've not seen any more bottles since I picked up those two.
I saw the one in the airport in Louisville, and I left it there like an idiot. So, I hate to do this because it could impact the score. So, but it's not accessible because of where we are. It's just they're store picks, right? So we're kind of at the store's discretion there.
Yeah,
So.
and I think it was 65, 75.
Yeah,
It was around the $70 range.
Yeah.
So
I'd say 65 to 70.
yeah, it's definitely $65 to $70 bottle of bourbon. I would definitely pay for it.
Oh, I would pay for it.
Yeah,
well, I did.
Well, yeah, for sure.
But I would
I'd
do
buy
it
another
again.
one. Yeah, I'd
Yeah,
buy
I would
another
do it
one.
again.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
definitely worth the money. I don't know, man. It's hard to get. I'm at a 2 on that, man. Just because it's. Well, I don't know. I'm gonna go 3 because it's not allocated. I mean, if they do have it, they have it.
I mean, that's where it's hard to, if we're saying accessibility, then it's hard to get because it's a store pick and they're always around, but they're not making it hard to get, and they're not even pricing it so it's hard to get.
Right.
It's just the nature of the single barrel and the store pick. So 3 is probably the neutral spot, right?
Yeah,
on the scale.
That's what I'm thinking.
The reality is it's hard to find, but not because they're making it hard to find. It's just just a limited release.
Yep. Yeah. All right, and then the texture. I think the texture is good. It looked a little thin in the beginning, but after taking a sip of it and checking it again, it's decent. It's probably not the thickest I've ever seen. It does have a really good texture. Like when you sip on it, I don't want to say the word.
Kind of a good mouthfeel.
Had to do it.
Yeah. I'm going to give it a 4.
I'm not going to disagree.
Okay.
I was kind of 4.5 on there, and that's why I wanted to take the other sip because, I mean, it sits very nicely. I'm going to go with the 4.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we were to add these up, 16 and a half, and we'll round it up to 17, that's going to put it at the anointed.
Yeah,
so
good.
Preaches flavorful truth, and it's a chosen one, so definitely a good one.
It is a chosen one. We searched for it.
Oh man,
We sought and sought and sought, and we found
I've this bottle and that Maker's Mark we talked about that thanks John for polishing that bottle off before I got a chance to come try it. But I've literally searched all over Texas for it. I'm talking from all the way east to El Paso to Amarillo down to Brownsville. I've been all over the state and in between looking for these bottles. So definitely worth it. Definitely worth it.
Yeah,
so,
agreed. Yeah,
awesome.
It's a good find. And I appreciate you finding it and letting me know you found it. And you could have hoarded both of the bottles, but you honored your buddy here, and I appreciate it. So
it's what it's about, man. It's about the experience and
right.
sharing the bourbon. And even if there was one bottle, my bourbon's your bourbon.
You still would
man.
open it. Let me
we
have
would
a
have
taste.
opened it up, and we'd be drinking it together
that's
anyway.
Right.
And I do have some people coming over, and we're gonna sit it out here for a little bit more and try a couple other bourbons today. So, well, hey, thanks for joining us. Really enjoyed the conversation about servant leadership. Please like, share, follow, subscribe, whatever platform you're finding us on. Get the word out. We'd love to hear from you too. You can shoot us a message on any of the platforms, or you can email us at theneatdisciples@gmail.com. Otherwise, we'll see you on the next episode.
Cheers, everybody.